Okay, so what we're doing in this lesson is we're going to have some examples, concrete examples with fractions. I know that fractions tend to be tricky and people kind of get worried of them, but I want you to be more comfortable with fractions. The first thing I want you to try and always do is I want you to always try and distribute if you can. Same process. Distributing is the first thing that we try and do. The next thing you want to do is you want to try and combine like terms on the left, and then if you have any on the right. And then you want to move everything that you can. Sometimes you can do that with the fractions there, but sometimes you're going to have to move the fractions. So it kind of depends on the situation. So I've tried to create 3 different problems so that you can see all the different things that could happen with fractions and you have a reference for them. Okay? All right, so let's look at this first one, and there's not numbers on it. So this fraction is here, which is annoying, but let's go down my list. There's nothing to distribute. There's nothing to combine. So now I need to move things, and I can actually move this plus 5. It's not attached to that fraction. It's not going to be a big deal. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And so to get rid of a plus 5, I minus 5. Okay? And so now negative 23 is equal to 2x over 3. So now we just got to do one step at a time. You got to relax with the fractions and not get too worked up. What's the next step that we're going to do here? How do I get rid of this divide by 3? Why, yes, that's what I do. I'm going to multiply by 3. Okay? And so negative 23 times 3 is negative 69 equals 2x. Now remember, this is 2 times x. So to get rid of a times 2, I divide by 2. I'm out of space, so I'm going to do it over here. And so I get x is negative 69 over 2. You can leave it like that. But that's the same as negative 34.5. Both of those answers are correct. But again, we just do one step at a time. Try not to get overwhelmed by the sight of fractions. All right, let's look at this next one. So this next one again, I'm going to draw my line down. Step 1 is to distribute. I don't have any distributing. Step 2 is to move things, or I'm sorry, to combine things. Now, usually I would try and combine things on the left, but you see how this one's a fraction and this one here is not? I don't want to combine that. I want to keep that separate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this minus 4 by adding 4. So I get x plus 2 over 3 is equal to 12. And now I just have a fraction that I know how to get rid of. Right here, you see how this whole thing is dividing by 3? I can't get rid of this 2 unless I get rid of this big divide. So when you have a big divide, you have to get rid of that first before you can get rid of the top stuff. So to get rid of a divide by 3, I multiply by 3. And now I have x plus 2 is 36. And now we have a pretty basic problem. I just have to get rid of a plus 2 by minusing 2. And so I get x is equal to 34. And that's it. Okay, let's look at the last one. And this one's about as tricky as we're going to get. I don't have any distributing. I don't have anything that can go together. So what I need to do is I need to move stuff. I'm going to move this 2 over to this 7. So to get rid of a plus 2, I minus 2. And so I have 3/4 x equals 2x minus 9. Now usually you would subtract the 2x, but I have a fraction here and we struggle with fractions sometimes still. So I'm going to show you another way to deal with it. This fraction says divide by 4. But I want to get rid of a divide by 4, so I'm going to multiply by the left by 4. But if I multiply the left by 4, then I have to multiply the right by 4. So what happens is I have to distribute that 4. So the 4's here cross off, and I get 3x is equal to 2x times 4 is 8x, and 9 times 4 is 36. Now we're back on a problem that we know how to do. We're going to go ahead and minus 8x on both sides. We get negative 5x is equal to negative 36. And to get rid of that negative 5, we divide. So x is 36 over 5. And that's the answer. I do want to show you how you would do it from this step if you actually want to do the fractions, because some of you got pretty good at fractions. Okay. If you want to do the fractions, you're going to minus 2x. And now we have to think about this. This is 2x over 1. Well, we have to have a common denominator. What's a number that 4 and 1 both go into? That's right, 4. So what did I multiply 4 by to get 4? I multiplied it by 1, so that means I have to multiply the top by 1. What did I multiply 1 by to get 4? That's right, I multiplied it by 4. So now I have to multiply the top by 4, and so I get negative 8. So now I do my math here, and I get negative 5 over 8. I'm sorry, not negative 5 over 8. Negative 5 over 4 x equals negative 9. How do you get rid of a divide by 4? You times by 4. And look, now we're in the exact same spot that we were right here. So you can either get rid of a 4 by multiplying by 4, or you can actually do the math and get a common denominator. Both processes will work. But don't get overwhelmed by fractions. You try and isolate things and make them go alone, and then you just get rid of a fraction by doing the opposite of dividing, which is multiplying.